Welcome everyone back to weekly weather updates, and in today's video we're going to have a look at the latest from the live radar, run for the UKV, have a look at the precipitation and the temperature over the next 5 days. It is unsettled still through today in places, but will be turning a lot drier for all tomorrow and into the start of the next working week. Perhaps on Wednesday we could see some more precipitation nudge in from the west as the high pressure comes under a bit of strain, but still widely pretty dry for many into next week. The temperatures will be generally cool as a bit of an easterly flow will develop under the higher pressure with a few degrees below average, temperatures around 10 to 12 degrees in the day, and even dropping as close towards freezing or below that in places where we do see a bit of a frost develop. As we head into the longer range, look at the GFS, GEM, ECMWF and the ensembles. We'll see high pressure does look likely to continue to dominate for the next week or two at least. And we have been looking at where that high pressure will develop, where it will sit. The latest runs today have it sitting more to our north and our east towards Scandinavia, which very much would encourage more of an easterly flow. Still being early in the year, easterly flows are going to continue to be pretty chilly, and it does mean that temperatures may still struggle through the first half of April. Some runs, even like the GFS midnight run today, did produce something really cold actually as we head into the middle of the month, dragging in really quite a long fetched northeasterly with even the -10 isotherm coming in for some regions. So we've got to keep an eye on it. I must say equally the ECMWF nudges it more for a southeasterly. We see more Mediterranean air. So there is some real uncertainty in the exact air masses we're going to be seeing throughout the first couple of weeks of April, but we are fairly certain it will be at least high pressure dominated in most areas and for most of the time. So remember, if you enjoy my videos, make sure to like and subscribe, and remember to follow me on Twitter as well, the link's in the description. So we start on the live radar. You can see that low pressure system that affected us yesterday with a lot of heavy rain around is now clearing in towards Europe. Europe's still getting bashed by a lot of heavy rain and stronger winds, and the weather front is still lingering across parts of southwestern areas. However, it will clear over the next few hours. We do have some more rain across East Anglia out in the North Sea, and this could spiral in and give some lighter or moderate rain through this evening, but we shouldn't expect too much with that, just a little bit of a damp picture there, but it should be turning a lot drier, as I said, into tomorrow. Some showers elsewhere, but again, they are just lingering and they're not really going to pep up all too much, and it does look like they're going to be fading through this evening, and as I head into tomorrow, it should be quite a bit drier for all. If you put on the temperatures, it's around midday, it's a generally cool day still. Look at those temperatures, some lighter yellows in places indicating temperatures into the low teens, but most areas around that 10 to 12 degree mark, which will likely stick around for a number of days. So generally average to slightly below average temperatures, nothing amazingly cold, but of course a lot of people will be wanting something a little bit warmer as we head into early April. So this sort of gets to the time of year when we do start to see that step change up from high single digits, low teens, up towards sort of mid-teens or high teens, as we do get ready for summer, where average temperatures can be as high as sort of 20 degrees or higher in parts of the south. So still got a bit of lingering some early spring weather here, and sort of late winter weather with these cooler conditions, but hopefully we'll see a little bit warmer throughout the rest of April. But as I said, it's not looking too encouraging for the next week or so. So if you have a look at the UKV now, have a look at the precipitation and the temperature over the next 5 days, you can see that rain clearing away. Still cloud and a bit of precipitation down the far east could move in, but most of it should degrade away, and it should be a lot drier into Sunday. But you can see the winds coming more from an easterly, and that means it will be cooler and a little bit chilly in places. So into Sunday, you look at that into the afternoon, most areas have got a lot of sunshine. Further northwards and westwards, closer to Atlantic systems, always can have the threat of some thicker cloud and maybe some spots of rain, but nothing too significant. Into Monday, another very dry day, really quite pleasant, and you can see out to the far west, rain starting to try and nudge in. And by Tuesday, nothing too much. Was again another really, really nice day. Into Wednesday, where the front does approach, could be some heavier rain for parts of Northern Ireland and parts of the Republic of Ireland. But of course, as it does progress eastwards, it will turn drier. And it will sort of fade away and will remain a little bit drier. And as it does move in, you can see really struggling to make a lot of progress as this weather front moves in through Wednesday. So could start initially as some heavier rain, but turning more towards sort of light to moderate patches as low pressure tries to come in against the high. You can see this, how this low is sliding to our north, and the big high pressure system out towards the east is trying to hold it off, but looks perhaps for maybe 24 hours in the middle of the week around that Wednesday to Thursday period, it sort of loses out. We do see this precipitation move in for western areas, so it could be a bit of rain into the middle of the week, but nothing too unsettled, nothing too intense, but could be a little bit miserable for a day or so then. If you do look at the upper air temperatures, you can see through this week it does start around average, around that freezing point at 850 HP. It does trend though slightly below freezing, which is getting towards below average conditions. So chilly in places throughout the next few days. Could see warm air masses waft in at times, but you can see that flow starting to come in from the east in towards the sort of Tuesday to Thursday time. And look, pretty chilly air does move in. So pretty cold conditions could come into the east and southern areas with those upper air temperatures. Again, we won't see that equate as anything too cold at the surface as it is early April now, but it will give chillier conditions and the potential for some frosts overnight. Now, if you put in the max temperatures, you can see this afternoon maybe 10 to 12 degrees with a bit of sunshine and dry conditions popping through in areas, but most areas are going to be trapped under cloud, maybe 9 or 10 degrees. Into tomorrow, overnight temperatures could be chilly in places where we see the cloud break, but into tomorrow afternoon, temperatures won't be all too high, still sort of 10 to 12 degrees, but it'll be a big difference with sunshine coming through, which will mean it will feel like pretty decent. It'll feel like a good few degrees warmer. But if the wind does get up a little bit, a bit of cloud develops, it will feel cool once again. It's going to be one of those where whenever the sun's up around sort of the peak daylight hours, it will probably feel pretty pleasant, but as soon as that sun does start to set, as soon as any wind gets going, any rain moves in or cloud moves in, it will feel pretty chilly. Into Monday, you can see overnight temperatures dropping towards freezing, quite a few areas, really quite cold with those cooler upper air temperatures and clearer skies, and into Monday afternoon again, 10 to 12 degrees. Finally to Tuesday, again, really quite cold overnight, and into Tuesday afternoon, once again, 10 to 12 degrees. So pretty much rinse and repeat through early this week. Into Wednesday again, another frost, and into Wednesday afternoon, again, 10 to 12 degrees quite widely. And then into Thursday, less of a frost, simply because we've got more cloud, but could be a few isolated patches further northwards and eastwards where we do have some areas of clearer skies. So you can see into next week, it's going to be mainly dry, apart from a bit of rain perhaps through Wednesday and Thursday in the far west. And it's going to be pretty chilly. Daytime temperatures not all too bad, but slightly below average, and overnight temperatures down towards freezing. So if you're up early in the morning, do be prepared for a bit of ice around, a bit of frost, and generally quite cold mornings out there. So not what we'd hope as we do progress into April. It's not too unusual, but we have had some nice springs over the last few years where it's been pretty pleasant and warm. It doesn't look likely that the first half of this year's spring is going to have any warmth in at all. So if you do now have a look at the longer range, look at the GFS, GM, eSIM, WF and the ensembles. This is the midnight run. The 6 o'clock run hasn't fully come out yet, so we won't be having a look at that, and the ensembles are not out either. So we'll have a look at all the midnight runs for today. You can see the low pressure clearing away and no real big signs of high pressure, but it does move in very quickly throughout the next 24 hours up towards Scandinavia, and it does push in that easterly flow. Nothing too strong, but strong enough to bring in a little bit of chilly air in from the east, and you can see a bit of a low pressure incursion there through Wednesday and Thursday up towards the north and west for high pressure builds in again. In towards next weekend, the high pressure actually reaches further northwards, builds in more of a stronger easterly from the GFS here, and this is where we do start to see some uncertainty. Most of the ensemble members, I must say, and operational runs keep the high pressure at the top of us, perhaps a cooler easterly flow. The GFS here does something that I do think is extremely unlikely. Very few ensemble members have it, but it's where we do actually get a very strong easterly with the air coming all the way from Siberia. Now, of course, Siberia is still relatively cold, but nowhere near as cold as if this happened 2 months ago. But very chilly, very cold, much colder than average. And if we do have a look at those upper air temperatures, you can see it's generally chilly for the foreseeable future, well below freezing at 850 HPA, potentially even the -5 line at times. But then look at that, the -10 isotherm could get in the longer term. Really, really quite chilly indeed. Again, look at the temperature deviation. You can see that quite exceptional air mass moving in, good 8 to 10 degrees below average potentially, as it does waft in from the northeast, and get the potential equivalent temperature just showing you where that air is coming from. Look at those purples potentially moving in, so really, really quite cold air for the middle of April, and wouldn't be surprised to be seeing even snow showers with that scenario. I must stress, we won't focus on this because it is an anomalous run, but it just shows you if that high pressure goes in the exact right position, it could pull in something quite a bit colder, but at this stage we do not think that is likely at all. If you look at the GM, which is a much more reasonable scenario, we do see the high pressure build in, a slack easterly flow, bit of a low pressure incursion this week, the high pressure rebuilds, and it does continue to have a bit of an easterly flow with a huge Scandinavian high developing. Now here there would be low pressure pushing into the west, so there could be some rain in the far west, and again we'll have to really keep a close eye on what could develop with that. But one thing we do have to look at is this high pressure system. It's very similar to what we'll see on all the runs recently, and we'll see from all ensemble members. But if you watch those isobars, they are tilting more to the southeast. So less of a low pressure undercuts, not quite as far northwards, and the high pressure is quite a bit bigger. That means the cooler air is heading into Southeast Europe, and we're actually getting up a bit of a warmer southerly wind, perhaps 6 to 8 degrees above average, so quite a bit warmer there. Again, it's uncertain exactly what sort of temperatures we'll be seeing with that, but maybe mid-teens, you could argue maybe high teens in places with this. Of course, it is still coming in with the higher pressure, still coming in off a chillier continent, so the upper air temperatures are not always well reflective of the surface conditions, but would definitely be a lot warmer than if this was more of an east to northeasterly. So we see the GM really similar to all the other runs that we'll see, and we've seen over the past few days, and we will see over the coming days, but definitely just showing you that if we did get that high pressure in the exact right tilt, similar to the GFS, we could get some very cold from the GFS, and we could get some very warm. They are on the extreme ends of what could happen with this high pressure system, but just shows you that we can get warm and can get cold from this pattern. So anyone saying it's definitely going cold or definitely going very warm has not looked at the latest runs. If you look at the ECMWF, it's pretty in the middle here. Again, high pressure building up to our north and our east. Low pressure is trying to push in at times, but generally dominating by high pressure, and we do see an easterly flow develop. However, right towards the extended range here, towards day 10, we do see cooler air move in, but actually low pressure does start to develop, and this could actually turn us quite unsettled there with the high pressure moving further eastwards. So again, very similar, but the high pressure is shifting eastwards here and actually opening the jet stream back up. And again, with high pressure to our north and east, it could actually trap that low there. So even though it could go dry for a week perhaps, come around the 10th, 11th of April, it could actually trap a low pressure system over us, a bit of a cut-off low maybe, which would turn us a lot more unsettled. But that is at day 10, and there is a lot of uncertainty with that. If we finish by looking at the ensembles, the latest GFS, you can see generally average over the course of the next couple of weeks with upper air temperatures, some going a few degrees below average, others going slightly above average, again, all dependent on the tilt of that higher pressure. But you can see it's a high pressure dominated because until about the 10th of April, we're not seeing any precipitation really at all. Now you can see the anomalous runs here from the GFS operational run, down towards -8 or even lower for areas further northwards and eastwards. Equally, there are some warmer runs, but general average to maybe trending slightly above average towards the middle of the month, and increasing precipitation. But again, that is just uncertainty as we head into the longer range. Again, if we look at the 2-meter temperatures from this midnight run, again, not looking particularly warm over the next week, maybe peaking at 11 or 12 degrees in places, and overnight temperatures, especially early this week, could be down towards freezing or lower. Longer term, there is potential for much warmer conditions, but equally cooler conditions as well. Got a lot of spread with that. Again, the sea level pressure just showing you that it's going to be generally high pressure dominated, at least for the next week, perhaps even longer, of course, trending lower in the longer term as there are some uncertainty. And looking at those dew points, look at that, into early next week, down towards freezing, just showing you the cold air mass. That's why we're seeing frosts, but slowly rising around the 6th, 7th of April, so around next weekend, rising at least in London to a couple degrees above freezing. So still generally cool, nothing really warm at all appearing here, but still, but not as cold as it could be early this coming week. If you finish by just looking at the ECWF ensembles, just to compare, again, very, very similar to the GFS. Minimal precipitation to around the 10th of April, and generally upper air temperatures are around average for the time of year with some either side. So it's looking likely to be completely high pressure dominated over the next week, perhaps even longer. Looking initially pretty chilly this next few days under the higher pressure. Could see warmer, could see cooler conditions prevailing around that day 7, day 10 period. We'll just have to keep an eye on. There's still a lot of spread on the ensemble members, and you can see through 3 operational runs have all 3 different sort of air masses moving in from around the 10th of April. So we'll have to see what happens there, but it does look likely we'll see something a little bit drier, a lot drier, a little bit more sunny, and maybe just generally a little bit more pleasant as well. Even though it will be cooler, I think a lot more people will enjoy this sort of cooler but drier, sunnier weather than the slightly milder, wetter weather we have had over the past few weeks. So anyway, thanks for watching, hope you enjoyed, subscribe if you're new, and I'll see you again for another video soon.